Hello, people of this planet, and welcome to another iteration of D&D Stories. Now, today I thought I'd make something a little bit more interesting-ish for you all, for the three people that watch my videos, and something that's a little different from your original telling a story, monologuing on a mic in a room all by myself in a house that shouldn't even exist. And today I'm going to help people, DMs, maybe even new players, on how to create, or at least what I believe, on how to create a carefully crafted story, campaign, and I guess you could say plot line for your very own D&D stories. Now, if you are wondering for my absence, for those who do watch my videos, school happened. This is basically what happened. This is a hobby. I don't do this full time. It's just me. Now, if you are a veteran of the D&D community, at least on YouTube, you will notice that some of these, like I have like a little list here on Microsoft Word. Some of these come from a fellow YouTuber by the name of T the Writer, who is also an excellent D&D player, storyteller, veteran, way more experienced than me. Been here on YouTube longer, you can tell by the quality of his videos. I highly suggest you go check out his channel. That is T the Writer. Very excellent stories, trust me. You will not be disappointed. Anyways, starting number one on the list, we have understanding your players, what kind of players they are, and what they expect from you. Now, in all honesty, there are, from what I've heard at least, two different kinds of players in, I guess, the D&D community. And that is people who come along for the story and the other end of the stick, which is basically, from what I've heard, power gamers. Now, according to many sources, power gamers are just people who care about the numbers, the people who want the highest sneak attack damage, the people who want the most damaging and explosive fireball or magic missile, I guess, I don't know. And the people who want the story is, well, very self-explanatory. The people who roleplay, people who actually play the game correctly, if you ask me, because come on, D&D is like, I always saw it as writing a book. You're telling a story, but that's just me. There's other people out there. You're entitled to your own opinion, whatever. Understand the people you are playing with. Because I always thought of it as crafting a campaign around the foundation of what your players want. Let me give you an example, and this ties into. Actually, I did not write it down, but at least I don't think I did. Um, it ties into asking your players as to what they want to see. So what I did for my campaign that I'm currently creating right now is I gave my players a piece of paper to each write on, and I told them four things that they would like to see in my campaign. And some of these have actually made the list, and I will go through them each and every one of them in no specific order really, and ensure that I can hopefully emphasize as to why it's very important that we should have these kinds of things in a D&D campaign. Now, give your players a piece of paper. Tell them, hey, what's something you'd like to see in my campaign? What's something that you'd like to see that would possibly make it more enjoyable? You understand? Yeah, it's basically literally as simple as that. They don't even have to write anything down. They can tell you. You can write it down or you can memorize it. It really does not matter. As long as you can ask them and ask for their opinion, hey, what would you like to see or hear or feel, or is there something you'd like to like a certain activity that you'd like to see in my campaign. Now, quickly, next on the list would be get to know their character sheets and classes. Now, we once had an argument with our DM who we recently finished our D&D Stories campaign, The Death of Lucifer, which I will not be continuing because in my opinion, unworthy of a shitty YouTube channel that I have at this moment. But understanding, we had an argument where Mario had said we do not have to. The DM does not have to keep track of the player's character sheets, and we basically like made fun of him, like, oh, like we started like right in front of his face as soon as he said that, like, yo man, I got 20 strength, I got 20 everything, like it doesn't matter, I have 9 million gold pieces, I own a mansion. Like the dude stayed quiet, like all this our whole group, which was like 6 7 people, were just like going back and forth, like, yo man, I have like 35 strength, like, holy crap, dude, how did you get that? Yo, there's this feat that gives you that just like out of nowhere. Yeah, we basically roasted the living crap out of them. And understanding their classes. Well, going back to the character sheets quickly, you need to understand what they have on them, what they look like, what kind of flaws they might have, bonds, ideals. Their ideology is a very good thing to know as a D&D, as a DM, because you get to either help them with that or use it against them. Say, for instance, one of their flaws is arachnophobia. You can sort of poke fun at them and have a little spider come out, like a small spider, and get a good laugh. As soon as they see it, they jump up on someone's arms. The little girl squeal, and everyone's just laughing because that's funny, right? Tiny spider. Someone can pick it up and like toy with him, like slowly move it towards him. That would be funny, actually. Or your DM can be an absolute asshole and just like, hey, a million spiders come out and start running towards you. Freaking piss your pants is what you're gonna do. But yeah, and understanding their classes. Now, recently, this was my fault as another DM, where a relatively new player wanted to be a vampire. Now, the vampire was not too bad of a thing, but the problem is, for my D&D story campaign thingy, it won't make sense, so I'll have to have him make another character just for the time being. He chose a class on homebrew, since it's a homebrew setting, a transmutation alchemist. And I looked through it and I said, you know what, it's fine. But the thing that I didn't really account for is that he'd be asking so many questions as to what his class can do, what it can't do. And he said that his class is super vague. And then we just said, you know what, man, like, just make a different character. Like, this is too much to deal with. The class is so vague, we don't understand it. But, we're not physicists or anything. The concept of equivalent exchange is somewhat beyond us. So, yeah. Now, moving on from players, we now get to the actual campaign and storyline. Now, third on the list is create NPCs that matter. Alright? Now, in our D&D campaign, The Death of Lucifer, in which Lucifer actually died, our DM created this NPC who was leading us, named Carvus. That NPC did not matter at all. The muck under my boot was more important than someone who was supposed to lead our group. Now, the reason why he was so unimportant was because he had no significant impact. And that's the second part to the number 3 on this list, is that you need to have NPCs that have significant impact on your story. Now, let me give you an example. You could have Carvus, who was literally a piece of shit that would always get lost, who didn't do anything in combat, and when he did do something in combat, would go up to like this demon, like slap it, miss 3 times, and then go do something else. And apparently he was a healer who didn't do any healing, which didn't make any sense. And then like, apparently he disappeared and like died, and it's like, what? Well, we didn't notice because we don't give a damn about Carvus. Now, create an NPC that actually would matter, and something that's as simple as can be. I doubt my friends are gonna watch this, but I had the idea that you can meet an NPC in a town, right? And what'll end up happening is you'll help them with something so big that they'll be so eternally grateful for you, right? And these people, like my players, would think, okay, like we helped them, whatever. It's not like we'll ever see them again. Well, I had the idea was, if they ever face like execution, like they're about to be executed or anything, that same NPC would literally like say they're gonna get their heads chopped off on the chopping block. It's about to happen. Whatchamacallit, NPCs that make a significant impact, maybe not story wise, but in the eyes of your players, they did make a significant impact. So the idea was, say one of my players, Ben, was about to get guillotined, I guess, or chopping blocked, I guess you could say that. And they're about to swing the axe, and that same NPC comes out from the crowd and tackles, the head chopper freaking guy. I don't really know the executioner. There you go. To the ground, and then starts fighting a little bit against the guards, but ultimately gets overwhelmed and gives you enough time to escape. And you, like in the aftermath, you go check if he's okay, and in your arms he tells you, "Thank you for saving me. The debt has been repaid." Something like that, like an actual returning character, someone who you helped so much that they were willing to sacrifice their life to ensure that you could keep on living. Something like that, right? An actual NPC that had some form of significant impact, which I have not yet seen in a D&D story from my other DMs. Hint, hint, you can do that. Number 4 on the list involves ensuring that there is good fluidity and continuity takes place. Now, in terms of good fluidity, our campaign, the recent one that involved the death of Lucifer, involved only arguing, okay? And I was genuinely, like, more or less upset at my group. Like, come on, guys. It's a campaign story. It's a game. If you die, well, there's nothing much that can be said. We we argued for like an hour as to moving like through a tunnel that had like a few traps. And it's like, damn, you know what? Like my character almost died from one trap, and I'm like, all right, whew. Goes forward like 10 more feet, phases through the floor, but I managed to catch myself. Freaking, I look down with my head, and there's like spikes, like a spike pit, and I'm like, I could have done. I turn back and leave, like my character's gone. And the other guys, they spend like 45 minutes to an hour just arguing as to how they're gonna get past this. And I swear to God, it was the most bullshit thing ever. Okay, and that's what having good fluidity when good fluidity comes in, where you stop your players from arguing. Okay, see, it's one thing to talk about a strategy for a like getting past an obstacle. It's one thing to argue, to just have the gameplay come to a screeching halt and have an argument for like an hour talking about getting past a pit of spikes. Like, Jesus Christ. Stop it. And that's where glued fluidity comes in. Just talk about it for like 5 minutes and that's it. Just move on. And continuity. Continuity is different from fluidity in the sense that you need to ensure that, well, I mean, it's just one continuous action. If someone dies in your campaign, like a major NPC dies in your campaign, it wouldn't make sense for the next session they come back, your players ask you, hey, didn't he die? And then it's like, no, he didn't die because you didn't kill him. It's like, yes, we did. We killed him. And then you have to like argue for another hour. as to why he died and he didn't die, and it's like he's actually God or something. Like what? Ensuring that continuity takes place in the sense that you do not make any errors as a DM, uh, potentially even confusing your players as to who's alive and who isn't. Oop, I'm sorry. Now, number 5 or 6 on the list, I've lost count. Number 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5. No, 6 on the list is create an expansive story. Now, if you've ever played anything like Skyrim or anything like that, that is probably the prime example for an expansive story, in the sense that your characters can have like actual significant impact on the story that takes place. So, for instance, you can sorry, but this is only one take. So, for instance, you can have whatchamacallit, like a map, and you can tell them, hey, you can do what you want, but keep in mind the main storyline is still in front of you, right? Ensure that they have somewhere to go and something to do. And that's actually something I did not write down, but I'll get to that real quick. Um, Creating the expansive story, basically a setting in which your players have a significant impact. Create a living story is another way of saying it, in my opinion. Now, this can involve two things. Number one, for the expansive story, is having, I don't know, like proper consequence. Like you have two choices: save the queen or save the people. You save the people, but the queen dies, and like the royal family sees you as shitty, but the normal man sees you as amazing for saving the lives of many. Or save the queen and let all those people die, but the royal family will love you, and the friggin' common man will see you as assholes. And then create a living world. So, if you rob a store and someone sees you, it's not like they're gonna get they don't have to get the guards immediately. They can report it, the guards can look into it, and then put up wanted posters. And I understand that kind of stuff is pretty expensive, but putting up wanted posters with like a description and a bounty, you know, for dead or alive, and then have people hunt your players. Now don't have like level 20 assassins, but like have like, if you're gonna have an assassin go after your players, have like a level 8 assassin, depending. Just ensure that it's evenly matched, more or less. Or maybe you can even get away with having the assassin be like an extra level above your players. Now, moving on number 7, we have having small activities and side quests. Now, I asked my players, what is one thing you all want to have in my campaign? And they said small activities. And I mentioned something about a tournament that um, that I was trying to create in my campaign, and they all said the same thing. A death arena. No, I actually created something, and I'm looking at a character sheet right now. I had created something that tests each skill: strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. I've created something that actually, tests each one. And it'll be a competition, and if you win, you get a grand prize of blah. Like, I think I put in like 3 different things, like a cash prize, like 2 cool looking items that I don't think my players have ever seen. But I'm gonna keep that hush hush for right now, because I don't want my players to actually watch this and know what's going to happen. And in terms of side quests, now, one thing I had in mind, well, not in mind, but something I thought was pretty interesting was, okay, side quest from the main storyline is you go into this abandoned building, blah blah. It's in look for evidence that this evil wizard was, here, right? And it's like, all right, all you're gonna look for is this like magical vase, I guess you could say. Like, it doesn't really make that much sense, but whatever. A magical vase in which you're going to like find, and hopefully it'll expose the evil wizard, blah, right? But a player accidentally, quote unquote, or maybe even on purpose, they find a bookshelf and they end up, finding a secret passage into the underground labyrinth of the city, and it leads to like a layer of this evil wizard in which his second in command is conveniently located in, and has, it gives a monologue as to what's going on, a philosophical talk, and has, just like a conversation, evil against good. What is evil? Are we actually evil? Is man truly what it seems to be? You know? That kind of talk that an evil monologuing character would give. A side quest that makes the main storyline expansive in a sense. A side quest that can show your players like, hey, what you do truly impacts the game. And an unwritten rule that I don't have, written down on my notes is having a good setting that isn't stale. Now, we've been in cities mostly, and that's where my campaign will take place, but that's to no surprise, sometimes that happens. But the kind of plot that we've been thrown in for the last two D&D stories, campaign thingies, was we have, we're thrown into a losing war, okay? Between like 5 different factions, and it's like, oh, kill this and kill that and go here and liberate this town. Like, that's getting stale for our group, okay? Like, it happened once, we didn't finish it, it was non-canon because we didn't finish it. This one we finished, it happened, but I mean, other than combat, nothing really happened, right? And you need, in moving into combat, here we have on like number 9 on the list, called have good balance of story and combat. Now, we have in the campaign Death of Lucifer, I kid you not, it was literally just combat. Like, Mario, I'm sorry, but there was just no story. There was no real villain. There was no antagonist other than Lucifer. But there was no like henchman. There was no nothing. It was just a template that you gave us. And like, there was no antagonist, no anti-hero, no equal, I guess you could say. Just no real equal, in the sense that we had someone to fight against. And you expected us to do this campaign until like we were level 12. Man, I think I might have like left that campaign midway through and said, dude, screw that. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, but that's just how I felt with it. Were the sessions enjoyable? Yeah, but like, you looking at your story, it was pretty bland. And that's where having good balance of story and combat comes in. Like I said earlier, I've always seen D&D as writing a book. You're telling a story. You're not creating a bloodbath arena, freaking guts and glory filled bloodbath. This isn't, I don't know, freaking, I don't know what to make an example of it, but you're telling a story in which you are having your players feel like they're the hero. In all honesty, I didn't really feel like the hero in the Death of Lucifer. I just felt like some sort of henchman. But whatever, that's another story for another time. To talk about that and, help other people iron it out for those who do watch my videos. And it's good to have combat, because of course D20 is a combat system, But when you keep having the same kind of combat over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, it gets stale very quickly, right? If you're gonna have a combat oriented campaign, that shit better be the best campaign I've ever been in, because you have a lot to live up to. That's why, in my opinion, like for my campaign, I'm not gonna have that much combat. There can be a lot of combat if the players engage in it first. That's the way I see it. That's just me. Now, in terms of combat, we once had an argument, not really argument, but like a conversation with our DM talking about experience, and this is the next on the list: sprinkling experience points for your players. Now, what I mean by this is combat may, yes, be the best way to earn experience, but the only problem with that is that it turns bland relatively quickly. If you have, okay, there's like 7 demons in this room, kill them all. All right, 2,000 experience, everyone. You turn to your right and there's a bandit. You kill. Oh, yeah, whatever. What about other things that give you experience, like lock picking, pickpocketing? Being convincing someone to do something they otherwise would not do. Intimidating someone. And I'm not saying give your players like 1,000,000 XP for everything or per session. I'm saying, alright, you successfully lockpicked the door. Alright, 15 XP. You successfully intimidated someone who's like twice your size. 20 XP. You successfully created a potion. 20 XP. Give your players the incentive to actually interact with the world, right? Pickpocketing, lockpicking, persuading people, actually talking to other NPCs. Sprinkle out the experience to make the D&D a lot more memorable and enjoyable, and potentially even make you the favorite amongst other, DMs. Potentially. Oh, Jesus. I'm sorry. Now, the second last on this list in a shorter video is prepare your story. It is painfully obvious when a DM does not prepare something. Okay? For example, he can have NPCs that are properly named and all that fit the setting. And then you go up to like this main NPC, and it's like, what's your name? And he's like looking around, it's like, Bob. Yeah, sure, Bob. Hello, Bob. Yeah, makes sense. And make sure you prepare your story. Now, let me tell you one thing about Mario. He does not prepare anything, for the most part. Now, let me give you some sense. We finished the death of Lucifer, and I'm not gonna even talk about that. That ending. That ending. Oh no, I feel like that ending was quite bad. And we had, like, literally not even 30 minutes after we finished that one, I'm ready to start the next campaign. Like, he just came up with an idea right on the spot. Like, dude, it hasn't even been 30 minutes. Like, people spend 20 hours crafting their campaign. What the hell do you mean you've come up with an entire story? You've come up with an entire story arc, characters, character backstory, motives, ideology, setting, plot, continuity, fluidity, side quest, impactful side quests in like 10 minutes. Bullshit. No, you didn't. I'm sorry, that was a small rant. I apologize. But it's imperative. It is absolutely imperative that you prepare at least the bare minimum basics. The plot, what you have in mind, the story, and the characters. That's what I feel is the bare minimum basics. But of course, that is my opinion. And lastly on the list, and I think I might get onto another one that's an unwritten rule in my little list right here. But lastly on the list is not everything has to be a bloodbath. Say, for instance, not everything has to end in death. Okay? There are more than one ways to get through or get past someone. Like, say for instance, a guard is in front of you and say, like, I cannot let you pass, sir. I apologize, but this is restricted area. And your players instantly decide, you know what, let's kill the dude. No, you can assure your players that, you know, like at that moment as a DM, you can tell your players, guys, like, yeah, you know, you don't have to kill this guy. There are other ways through, right? You can sneak around. You can even knock him out. That's one. That's another way. You can persuade him. You can deceive him. Tell him, I have direct orders from the king. And if you fail that check, well, then where's your permission? I left my permission in my other pants. I apologize. I apologize for stepping forward while I was not supposed to. I will go get them. Then they sneak around after that, because after that failed attempt, no matter, you could tell that guard anything. That guard's just not gonna believe you. Not everything has to end in blood and misery and guts and gore, right? Say, for instance, a pack of muggers, go up to you and say, like, hey, give us all your money, right? And it's like, if you roll high enough in your persuasion check, you could tell them, sir, there's still time for you and your own family, your own life. Why waste it trying to steal what others have worked hard for, when you yourself can work hard for it? And you'll make them realize, like, damn, he's right. Fucking, I'm gonna go get a job. And you've impacted the economic society. Good job. Anyways, not everything has to end in death, is what it is. Now, an unwritten rule that I have not written down because I got lazy and forgot is have a good plot hook. Now, what I mean by that is have an actual plot hook. Now, let me give you an example. We have in our last two campaigns, we were literally have a good plot hook and objective, a clear objective. In our last two campaigns, we were thrown into a really shitty setting in terms of you're thrown into a losing war, fix it, is basically how I see it. And the way it was, as simple as fix it. Like, there was no real objective. Okay, then the death of Lucifer, our objective was go to this town, liberate it, go to the next one, liberate it, go to the next one, liberate it, go kill Lucifer. That's basically what I got out of that campaign story plot line thingy, right? And I thought that was kind of no one to speak to, no antagonist, no anti-hero, no nothing. It's just that, right? And that got bland quite quickly. Hopefully Mario's new campaign that he came up with in 10 minutes can preferably redeem himself in some way. And have a clear objective. Our objective was we have to get out of here, like get out of this dimension. But the problem was we didn't know how to do it. And apparently Carvas just like opened the door and was like, yeah, you can leave. Like after that ending, because yeah, why not? And after this, I'm gonna start writing down what I want to happen in my campaign. So hopefully we'll see what happens in mine. And in the end, just having that is, if you ask me, a bad plot hook and objective. A good plot hook and objective is, if you look at Bethesda's Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, a good plot hook, and it's something small, was when you got that little letter from the Dark Brotherhood, that all it literally was a black handprint that said, "We know." That plot hook is just golden. Excellent writing, excellent choice. Just something so simple that captivates your audience's attention. The players' attention span, their attention. Just getting this mysterious note from someone they don't know. It says, "We know," and then next time you go to sleep, you're taken into this shack in the middle of the woods, and it's like, damn, I gotta kill someone, or else I might die. You know, and it's like, uh-oh. So yeah, a plot hook and objective like that would be something very nice. Now, that concludes our little session, I guess you could say, our little list. I do hope you enjoyed my own list of, potential things you can do to better yourself as a DM and better your own very own campaigns to make for some very memorable D&D stories. I do hope that you join us next time for the next iteration of D&D Stories, where I talk about my very first D&D session, in which I talk about basically how I got into the game and what happened as soon as I joined the wonderful game of Dungeons and Dragons. I hope you have a wonderful day, stay safe, and I'll see you for the next episode.